Just got the hatch backed out of the garage under its own power, and what I'm doing right now is just letting it idle and warm up. And once it's fully warmed up, I'm just gonna let it run like 10-15 minutes. Then I'm gonna shut it off, drain the oil back out, put some new oil in there, and probably go drive it around some and try to put some miles on it to break this thing in. Not going hard on it at all and keeping the RPM kind of low. And I'm just kind of letting the coolant cycle all the air bubbles out of that as well. And I'm gonna have to fix my fan, I just realized, because one of the wires broke, so my fan wasn't even coming on. But right now I just have it wired to run always on just so it doesn't get hot. But I need to fix that later. But yeah, just gonna let it warm up and then give her another oil change. And while that warms up, I'm just gonna clean up the mess I made from last night and this morning. Got a lot of shit to pick up. And for those of you wondering, unfortunately this header I got from Paunchy did not fit. This drop down part right here is literally like an inch too long, just barely. It almost fits, but I did get it in there last night, and when I run the tubing like down through this little gap right here, the flange sits a little too high up to bolt it to the block, so that's not gonna work. I mean the head, but that's not gonna work. But I do have a K24 exhaust flange over here. Brent found this in his like scrap, and it has been welded on before, but I'm just gonna grind it flat, and I'm gonna go ahead and start making a turbo manifold for the MR2 pretty soon. And I would get a nice exhaust flange, but this isn't gonna be like the final turbo setup, so I'm not really worried about making a really nice manifold for the first setup. I'm only gonna be using a T3 flange with a smaller turbo than what I'm gonna be running later on. But now that I have no exhaust, I figured I'd at least start on the manifold and then probably just throw a turbo kit on this thing and just run it on like 7 or 8 PSI, just whatever the stock injectors can go to, and just have some fun with it for now. So I'd rather just start on the manifold than making a full exhaust out the back for it. Might as well do that. But yeah. It is now the following day, and I am letting the first oil drain out of the hatch, and I'm getting ready to put its second round of oil in it, and I am gonna put some miles on this oil change. So I figured I might as well take it up to PFI, make sure it's running and driving good. It is kind of sketch because I do have cord showing on one of my slicks, but which one is it? Oh, it must be the other side. But I'm not really too worried about it. As long as this bitch don't pop on me, it won't be an issue. And I'm also going to start on the turbo manifold for the MR2 today. So I got some supplies, and I'm just gonna make a simple log style manifold, just like this, as you can see. Just 2 T's and 2 90s on each end. Then I will cut a hole out, weld a piece of pipe on there, and then a flange right off that. Just a simple, quick manifold. Should be able to whip that out in a couple hours. But just gonna get the second set of oil in the hatch and take it for a spin. Just got the PFI, the hatch seemed to make it just fine. It's not leaking any oil. It's been sitting here for a good like 15 minutes. Not a single drop underneath it, so that's a good sign. But she seems to be running good. So yeah, just gotta break her in some more and she'll be ready to go on the dyno again. So while I'm at PFI, I figured I might as well cut the T's to length real quick since he has the bandsaw, and that'll make it a lot easier than trying to use my Sawzall. So I'm gonna get all these cut real quick and fitted so I can just go home and get this thing welded up. Got all the pieces cut, now I just gotta grind down this head flange and this thing will be ready to weld up. Got the crank for the wagon.
Got it. Ready to rock. Straight now. Ready to get.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't even say anything about it because that's the one we got from the junkyard, and all the mains were a little messed up, so we got those machined down.
Yep.
And now it's all straight, and we'll just get some bearings to fit the mains that are like what, 10 over?
Yep. The crank was bent and it needed 10 over bearings, so
that's good now.
Yep. All hardened and ready to go.
Back from PFI, and I'm in the process of grinding down that head flange to work on the turbo manifold for the MR2. But one thing I did just run into, I got this piece of tubing last night, and I thought it would be big enough to stretch out to fit this T3 flange right here. But I already squished this side in the vise to kind of make it more of an oval to fit this flange better, but it's still gonna be a bit too small. As you can see, there's some big gaps on the edges of that. So I'm gonna have to run over back to PFI, and hopefully he has something I can use for that flange, because everywhere else is closed for the day, because I do want to try to get this manifold tacked up by tonight. But I'm just going to continue to flatten this all the way out, and then I'm going to head back over there real quick and just see if he has any other material I can use for this manifold. So it turns out I did have an extra piece of 2.5 inch Schedule 10 tubing, so this will work great, didn't have to go anywhere, and that will cover up the flange nicely like that. So that will go onto there, and the only reason I need this is because I can't weld this T3 flange directly onto the manifold, or else I won't be able to get a nut on the backside. So I need to extend it just a little bit out like that so I can get the hardware through the holes. But got that piece, and I already have the manifold pretty much how I want it. Everything looks pretty good. I just need to bevel these 2 elbows on the end right here and clean off the burrs on the inside. But these 2 middle T's are already done. So I'm gonna get those tacked on to the flange, or no, I'm actually just gonna tack them together for right now, just to get them spaced apart correctly, and then I will get the elbows tacked on from there, so then I can weld on the underneath right here, make that easy to get to, and then weld it onto the flange. And with how tiny this manifold is, it shouldn't warp too bad or anything like that. And I'm probably not gonna back purge it at all either, just gonna throw it together and get it done. Alright, so I got the manifold all the way welded up. Looks pretty good, I'm happy with it. So now I need to see where the turbo needs to go in the car, but it did get dark outside, so I'm gonna have to use a light. But I got this piece right here. This has the T3 flange already tacked to it, still a little hot, but I got my 2.5 inch piece of tubing tacked on there, and I already went ahead and notched out the sides like that. So let me see. Oh yeah, that's pretty hot. So those notches are so this can sit just like that on there. Get the idea. And then once I weld that on, I'm just gonna hammer in that lip right there so there's not a gap. So I'll just weld it on the sides, hammer that down, and it should fit up nice. But I just need to go hang this thing in the car and see where I want the turbo positioned in there, because it's gonna have to be, once this thing focuses, holy crap. All right, there it goes. So this is gonna have to be a little bit below the manifold to fit in the car, or else it's gonna hit that back wall. You'll see what I mean when I get over there. But I just need to pretty much bolt the turbo to that, and I am using the same size turbo that is on the hatch. This is the GTX 3582R. This was gonna be going onto the van, and I might buy another one because I still wanna put this on the van, but I'm gonna at least use this for mock-up right now. But it's gonna be the same turbo going onto the MR2. So I'm just gonna get that bolted to the flange, hang the manifold up in there and bolt it to the car, and then just see where this needs to be so that everything fits nice. And then I'll just mark it, plasma cut out a square hole, weld that on all the way around, and then weld it all the way around on there, and the manifold will be done. And then I gotta track down a turbo if I'm not using that one, get some other parts, and hopefully get this MR2 boosted soon. So sorry if this is kind of hard to see, it's pretty dark out and I can't really get a good light on it. But I'm basically just angling the turbo a little underneath so that it clears, because if I tried to do it straight, it would just hit on this back wall right here, So just got to put a little bit of an angle on her and she should fit pretty good. So I just got the manifold all the way welded up. I am pretty happy with how it came out. Looks really good. I still need to add a wastegate on the top of it, but I'm gonna do that later on. But yeah, it actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would. Got this thing done pretty fast, and it really didn't sugar as bad as I thought it would either. And I went ahead and went over it on the inside with my torch and kind of flattened it all out in there. It still looks kind of gross, but in person it actually looks pretty clean inside there. And then for the inside of the runners, still really hot. I didn't touch those at all, and it really didn't even sugar that bad. So came out pretty nice. And my camera is getting pretty low, but I'm gonna get it bolted up in the car once it cools down and hang the turbo on there, just to show you guys where it's gonna sit. So there it is with the turbo, just kind of vice grip to the manifold, and then the manifold's only held in with one bolt that's actually tightened down. But it does hang pretty low, but it's in a really good spot. Everything is easy to get to. I'll be able to run I'll be able to run the intercooler piping really easily, and the exhaust should be fairly easy as well. So all I got to do now is just get that wastegate flange welded on, and the manifold will be ready to go. But that's gonna be it for tonight, guys. Got the manifold done on the MR2, so look forward to this thing being boosted hopefully soon.